Here we go. K-pop whisper. K-pop whisper.
50,000 people in under 5 hours, standing in the middle of a city square just to see 7 men step onto a balcony. Was this BTS visiting Mexico, or was this the president of Mexico visiting BTS? On May 6th, BTS appeared on the balcony of Mexico's National Palace. Today we're going to break down what that 5-minute appearance actually means for K-pop in 2026. Let's rewind to Tuesday afternoon, May 6th. All 7 members of BTS arrive at Palacio Nacional in central Mexico City. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum greets them personally. K-pop's biggest group walking into a head of state's working office for a private meeting. This is not a thing that has happened before. The meeting itself was short and closed door. But what came next is the part that mattered. Sheinbaum personally walked the 7 of them out onto the balcony. Down below in the Zócalo, Mexico City's main public square, about 50,000 army had gathered. Mexican government estimates put that crowd at 50,000 in under 5 hours from the moment the visit was announced. The balcony moment lasted about 5 minutes. RM addressed the crowd in Spanish. Muchas gracias for having us. Te amo, te quiero, we followed in English. The energy here is incredible. Thank you so much for loving us so much. Sheinbaum took the mic and shouted to the crowd, I already told them they have to come back next year. By the way, for context, ARMY here is the official BTS fandom name, short for Adorable Representative MC for Youth, with the bulletproof reference baked in. 5 minutes of greeting, 50,000 people in under 5 hours. And a head of state personally walking the group onto her own balcony. 3 things all happening on the same Tuesday. You really can't just call this a band stopping by Mexico. Next chapter, we walk you through how this balcony got built in the first place. The real start of this balcony was actually a letter. A letter one head of state wrote to another head of state about a K-pop concert. What did it say, and why did 2 presidents end up writing each other about a tour schedule? Sheinbaum told reporters the math herself. Around 1 million young people want to buy tickets, but there are only 150,000 tickets available. 1 million versus 150, about a 7-to-1 demand gap. So Sheinbaum sent a formal diplomatic letter to South Korean President Lee Jae-myung asking for help adding more concerts. The South Korean government then forwarded that request to HYBE. At the same time, Mexico's consumer protection agency, Profeco, had been actively cracking down on ticket reseller platforms, scalping the existing tickets. So you have a situation where one country's youth, a literal million of them, couldn't get tickets, and the country's president decided to escalate it through diplomatic channels. Mexico wasn't treating this as concert marketing, they were treating it as youth policy. Which means the balcony appearance was basically the closing chapter of that letter. Concerts can't be added overnight, so come step out onto a balcony instead. Letter answered. Now here's the wrinkle. Korean K-pop industry insiders thought the letter itself was a diplomatic faux pas. The Korea Herald quoted a major agency official saying she should have sent the request to HYBE, not the president. And these are not state-sponsored events. Translation World Tours are private business decisions across 41 stadiums, and if you grant one country's request through diplomatic channels, every other country starts asking the same way. And here's the wild part. Sheinbaum herself appeared to register the same concern. The next morning in her press briefing, she literally said, "We must not politicize the BTS visit. We shouldn't do that." The president, who personally walked them onto the balcony, telling everyone the next day not to politicize the balcony. Sheinbaum did 2 things at once. She gave 50,000 young people a 5-minute moment from a presidential balcony, and then the next morning she told everyone, please don't politicize this. The balcony was the diplomatic move. The press conference was the safety break. This is not the first time BTS has shown up on a diplomatic stage, but it is the first time a foreign head of state wrote directly to South Korea's president about them. That's the part that's new. Let's trace the 6-year escalation. September 2018, RM stood at the UN General Assembly podium and gave an 8-minute speech in English titled Speak Yourself. At that point, K-pop was a relatively new face on the Billboard chart. Diplomacy was a one-member solo moment. 3 years later, September 2021, all 7 members spoke at the UN again, and the South Korean government formally appointed them Youth Special Envoys. That's when K-pop as soft power assets started showing up in mainstream coverage, not just music coverage. After the military service gap, June 2025 hit, all 7 members finished service. RM and V's joint discharge livestream pulled 6 million concurrent viewers on Naver alone. Then, March 21st, 2026, the free concert at Gwanghwamun in Seoul, 260,000 ARMY in person, 80 million concurrent viewers on the Netflix live stream. That was the moment soft power assets stopped being a metaphor and started being a measurable number. The ARIRANG album has held a top 5 spot on the Billboard 200 for 6 straight weeks now, the longest top 5 run any K-pop album has ever managed. The world tour is 41 stadiums, every single show sold out, from the El Paso Sun Bowl on May 5th to the 3 sold-out nights at Estadio GNP Seguros in Mexico City. And the UN podium of 2018 has now become a foreign president's balcony in 2026. K-pop isn't a band visiting a country anymore, it's a country offering its own youth a 5-minute answer through a band. 2018 UN, 2021 Youth Envoy, March 2026 Gwanghwamun, May 2026 Zócalo. 6 years, 4 redefinitions of what K-pop soft power actually means, and Mexico just rewrote the definition one more time. What does this balcony actually leave behind, both for the K-pop industry and for BTS themselves? There is good news and there's uncomfortable news, and they are arriving at the exact same time. Good news first, the Mexican government announced directly from Sheinbaum to BTS in person that BTS will return to Mexico in 2027. Additional Japan and Middle East states are reportedly coming. The K-pop industry has arguably for the first time lifted private concert scheduling into the territory of actual diplomatic leverage. From HYBE's side, 50,000 people in a city square is the kind of global exposure no marketing budget can buy. But here's the uncomfortable news. ARMY Mexico, the official local fan org, posted this statement right after the balcony appearance. We kindly ask ARMY Global to refrain from sharing or amplifying news regarding a certain visit currently being circulated. Fans from other regions echoed the concern in comments under the Korean coverage. This is going to open the door for other governments to ask for the same thing. One ARMY pointed out the members were supposed to be resting and rehearsing for the tour opener the next day. By the way, a fresh moment for Chapter 4 reward. V earlier this week in El Paso pulled out his Cowboy Carter Mucho Picante Texas moment, which the internet has not stopped memeing about. This balcony delivered 3 different things to 3 different audiences: new negotiating leverage for the K-pop industry, a youth policy moment for the Mexican government, and a fresh protection problem for ARMY and BTS themselves. 3 people standing on the same balcony, each of them looking at a completely different picture. Back to the question we opened with, was this BTS visiting Mexico? Or was this the president of Mexico visiting BTS? Probably both, but one thing is clear now, K-pop isn't just a band traveling somewhere. It is the answer one country offers its own youth through a band.
Crew chosen. Crew chosen. Yeah.